Living organisms had existed on Earth without ever knowing why for over 3,000 million years before the truth finally dawned on one of them. His name was Charles Darwin. That sounds to me like a religious statement. That is near messianic language. And you are making the case that these other people have this virus of the mind. That tonality says, I found my God.
Dawkins proposed the idea of a memeplex, which is memes that appear together, like an ecosystem. It is somewhat arbitrary what you would call a meme or a memeplex. It is a matter of how granular you wish to see the matter for the present purpose, and as you can see in any Venn diagram, there will be overlap. Most importantly, it begs the question, what are the categories of the known? How do I define the basics of what I am experiencing? How does a person orient oneself to the reality that they cannot know everything, but still must contend with everything?
If the universe is queerer than we can suppose, is it just because we've been naturally selected to suppose only what we needed to suppose in order to survive in the Pleistocene of Africa? Or are our brains so versatile and expandable that we can train ourselves to break out of the box of our evolution?
What are the categories of categories? What is the most meta memeplex? How thin can memes be sliced? We have not drawn any of these boundaries ourselves. We have not evaluated or prioritized the knowledge that we have access to as a general rule. We have not gotten our memes consciously organized. In our culture, this would be considered a weird thing to do.
But once you get a big brain, then the big brain can be used for other things. Computers were originally designed as calculating machines, and then without any change, without any alteration in their general structure, it turns out that they can be used as word processors as well. There's something about human brains which makes them more versatile than they were originally intended for.
While biologists have much to teach us about ourselves, there is also much to learn from art, literature, and experience that really isn't appropriately reduced to DNA, reproduction, and survival. Although you can do this.
You can drive a car with your feet if you want to.
Whatever development is occurring within us as individuals, or the development of our shared mental space, or the development of our culture, whatever we want to call that, it clearly is developing, and that development is clearly not reducible to DNA and biology any more than it is reducible to molecules and atoms, or cells and tissues, matter and energy. The human organism can be reduced to a cluster of DNA or a cluster of cells, a brain connected to some hardware, a skeleton of bones, molecules, chemicals, energetic impulses, 11th dimensional vibrations, just as a society can be reduced to a cluster of individuals, or particles, or chemicals, or 11th dimensional vibrating wavicles. But why reduce when you can study the thing on its own terms, at its own level? Your personhood is a memeplex. It can be analyzed as a complete functional system of interrelated informational patterns. Memetics gives theoretical grounding to the self-evident apprehension that what has happened with the societies of people on Earth bears a striking similarity to what has happened with the biological species on Earth. So much so that in common speech, we often talk about the evolution of society or culture or humanity or even the self as though that term described something other than or anything other than DNA adapting to environmental pressures. Again, you can totally do that.
That don't make it a good f***ing idea.
For some strange reason, random chance, animals have had the opportunity to evolve into mental beings, doing this mental activity which just happens to look a lot like evolution, so much so that we call it that in common speech. At this point, several cans of worms have been opened, and many of these cans are far more interesting than the one we are currently in.
Man, f*** you.
I followed the worms all the way back to the source.
What could be more important than an understanding of why you're here, why you're the shape you are, why you have the brain that you do, why your body is the way it is? Not just you, but all the other 30 million species of living things.
I'm afraid I'm at the shallow end of the gene pool.
Feel free to hit the comments with any questions, observations, fix any errors, argue and call me names. This is interactive. If you want to know more about memetics and not my particular slant on it, I would recommend The Selfish Gene, videos about memetics, some of which I have used clips from here, so you could view those. There is a link in the description to a recent unaffiliated video you may find interesting discussing how memetics helps to resolve the cognitive dissonance which can be the result of people holding beliefs that seem really obviously false and unjustifiable.